Objects of Consumer Protection Act, its extent and exceptions. Let us now understand the Objects of Consumer Protection Act 1986. Objects of the Consumer Protection Act. The objects of passing the Consumers Protection Act are clearly stated in the preamble of the Act. It says that this Act is basically passed to protect the interests of consumers. Provisions for setting up of a mechanism to solve consumers' grievances are provided through this Act. The Act seeks speedy and simple redressal to consumer disputes through quasi-judicial system set up by district, state and national levels. The quasi-judicial system is expected to observe that the natural justice is provided to consumers. These judicial bodies also have powers to relieve a specific nature and to compensate the offended consumers. Let us take a quick look at the extent of Consumer Protection Act. Extent of Consumer Protection Act. This Act extends to the whole of India except the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It has authorized the central government to make different provisions of the Act applicable from different dates for different states by notification. The Act shall apply to all goods and services. Let us now go through the exceptions of Consumer Protection Act. Exceptions of the Consumer Protection Act. The Consumer Protection Act has few exceptions. These are the areas which have been excluded from coverage of the Act. First, free services like free libraries and free medical services. Second, the services provided in the form of contract, for example, services of maid servants or domestic servants. Third, the services of doctors in government hospitals. Consumer Protection Act or Amendment Ordinance was passed in 1993 to cover up the loopholes in the Act of 1986. The amendment brought unsafe goods under the coverage of the Act. To summarize, consumer is one of the important components of the economy. He is one of the participants in the process of production. A consumer plays a pivotal role in the economy from both the sides, demand and supply. The Consumer Protection Act 1986 was enacted with the object to protect the interests of consumers at large. The Act intends to seek speedy and simple redressal to consumer disputes through quasi-judicial machinery set up at the district, state and central levels.